Do you have a story to tell? Everybody raise your hands because everybody has a story to tell. And we're going to tell you how we can help you tell your story so you can make a bigger impact in the world and inspire people. Hello, Heidi.
Hey, Francine, how are you this week?
I have been very, very productive.
Oh, right. I always like to hear that.
Yes, very productive. I have been doing so many brainstorming sessions with potential authors for this Believe You Can anthology book. I am so excited about some of the stories that I have heard and I can't wait. And all I want to say is if you are listening and you haven't decided to write your chapter yet, what are you waiting for?
Well, I might have some ideas about what they might be waiting for. And so, part of what we're talking about in today's episode is ways to get started. And I'm going to suggest that you work it into something that you're already going to do anyway. So, let me ask you this, Francine. When it gets to be the end of the year, do you have any routines where you reflect on your successes and what worked and what didn't and kind of plan for next year? Do you do anything like that?
I don't because I don't wait till the end of the year. I do that all the time. Every time I complete a project, I do an after action review. What went well? What could have been done better? And what could I learn from it? And I'll tell you, every step of putting together this anthology book program has been a learning experience. And I have learned so much and I keep learning. So why wait till the end of the year when you can go every step of the way and figure out what went well, what you can improve, and how to make it better?
And I do have to agree with you that it starts to become a little addictive once you start doing this. Maybe um, you're doing it because everybody's talking about New Year's resolutions and stuff like that. So you're like, I'll give it a try. I'll see what this is like. But when you realize that you can apply it to like what you said, Francine, at the end of every project and be able to look at it and say, what have I learned from this? I just finished one of my diamond paintings this weekend, and I feel like I learned a lot from that project too. And every time I'm starting to pack stuff away, I do reflect about what did I learn about this? What is the new thing that I'm going to see if it exists because it would be better if this tool worked better or something like that, right? But have you ever thought about these little lessons at the end of each of your projects as a story?
Absolutely. Oh, yes, absolutely. And sometimes the story just develops into a reel on social media. Sometimes the story gets tucked away in my story bank. So when I go do a 45-minute keynote address, I have all of these stories in my brain. Public speaking tip, everybody. That's how you do this. If you are not a public speaker and it's funny, if you're not a public speaker, most people don't want to be, but you're going to find that you need the skill sometime in life. I was just talking to another author about that today. And the best tip I could give is start collecting your stories. Put them at 1 to 2 minute stories. Rehearse them in your mind. Keep them a spreadsheet or old fashioned recipe box and go through them occasionally. Then, when you have to stand up and speak for 10 minutes, just think what 3 stories apply to what you're doing. And then all you have to do is attach an intro and a conclusion to it. You got your 10-minute speech. So I am constantly collecting stories. So while I was standing up there, I didn't have to write this 45-minute keynote address and memorize it and stress over it. I just had all of these stories. And somebody asked a question, and I said, "Oh, yeah, I've got a story to tell you." And I told the story of how I found essential oils. So that's something to keep in mind if public speaking frightens you. And you know that becoming an author means that you're going to have to get up on a stage or in a podcast or do some form of speaking. Just tell your little bitty stories like you're talking to your best friend, telling about what happened at the grocery store today.
What I really like about what you're saying, and would work so fantastic for the music artists that I work with, because if you're going to get your music out there, a great way to do it is interviews. And, this is something that the Believe Retreat Anthology Project, we're going to be working on, being comfortable with doing these kind of interviews. And what you're talking about right there, Francine, is just a fantastic way to be prepared for interviews, because a lot of times, if you're listening to interviews, you realize people ask a lot of the same questions when it comes to bands and music. So you just have to realize what are your little stories along the way and practice them, just like you would practice your songs. And just like it becomes muscle memory when you step on the stage and you start playing those songs and it just comes out, the same thing will happen with interviews. So now if you're like super nervous or shaking or something else is going on, you're still going to present yourself really well in that interview because you practice this and you're very comfortable with telling those stories. And when you have them in story format like that, people tend to remember it better. Right. And also, oh yeah, something similar like that happened to me. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. I got to check out this band.
And that applies for authors too. When you can tell a story that's adjacent to your book, that makes people want to read your book.
Yeah.
For instance, in that keynote address, I was talking about how the tree in the book, in the children's book, get the right book here, this tree, at the beginning, it's the tree of sadness for Princess Fancy when she had her wound on her mouth, the scar on her mouth, and she was afraid to go to school. But when she goes into the magic land, it's the magical tree where Camp Confidence, where everything is fun and exciting. All that was a change of perspective from the sadness tree to the happy tree. Well, to solidify that idea in the audience, I chose a couple other stories. For instance, you get in a car wreck. Oh, my back hurts, my car's broken. Yeah, that was a horrible. Or I was in a car wreck, but you know what? My car could get fixed and at least everybody's okay. Nobody was really seriously hurt. Perspective. So I just told the story about the cars that other people could identify with, but now they're thinking, oh, maybe my child could learn about perspective with the magic tree. So
what I love about perspective with writing also is, And even with acting and things like that, is it gives you an opportunity to shift your perspective pretty easily in just doing an exercise. So like you could write your story, so you could think of a particular story and tell it from a negative perspective. Or you could tell that same story, now tell it from a positive perspective. And it's going to sound like two completely different stories, maybe even like it's coming from two completely different people. And when you realize that you have this power of perspective, I mean, that really puts you in a very powerful place because it allows you to put yourself into other people's shoes when you're communicating with them. So you can communicate with them better. And it also helps you empathize with people a lot better because you really can put yourself into their perspective for the time being and really understand where they're coming from.
Kind of like how we got a slow start with this Believe anthology. We had some problems at the beginning, but in the long run, those problems taught us things we needed to know. So we could have stomped our feet, this won't work, and just quit. But we chose to take the perspective of, okay, what did I learn from that? And how can we make it better?
And I'll also say that in the past, I've had a lot of collaboration or ideas that just, I put a lot of time and effort into it and it just didn't work. And that was perfectly okay for me to kick down the sandcastle and move on because I still had those memories of building the castle with me. And all of those were really important lessons. So when we started this particular collaboration, I had all of that knowledge and that experience starting this. And that was amazing. I mean, that's a huge reason, I think, Francine, you bringing your experience and expertise to this and me with my background. And finally, like, it clicked with what we were doing. It took a little bit of time to just feel it out and say, what exactly are we doing? Do we want to do? How does this fit in with what we're already doing and who we want to serve? And when it clicked and it made sense, things started happening a lot faster.
So, am I hearing that this is the perfect time to join the Believe Anthology collaboration because we already figured it out? Because we already have the plan. Because if you have a story to tell and you're not quite sure how to tell it or how to get it published, we could help. And not only can we help you do that, but we could help make you a best-selling author. We could help you promote your primary endeavors. We could help you take your personal brand to the next level because this is what we've learned while we were figuring it out.
And one of the biggest lessons that I've learned is I cannot do all this by myself. I don't want to. I did for a while. It's not really as much fun, especially because I am creative and I love collaborating with other people. And so the challenge sometimes comes down to a process that's going to work for everyone. And so it's finding that like win-win situation, where everyone is going to capture a win out of the time and the investment that they put into the project. And I feel like over the last year, we have really worked hard to get feedback and to adjust the things that we were doing to really come up with a collaboration idea that falls in line with our mission, which when we started this is we want you all to slow down a little bit to speed up. And what we mean by that is taking time for reflection. And these topics that we talk about in the Believer Retreat are not just business topics of, oh, how do we build our audience or how do we find the next clients and things like that. No, what we're talking about is a whole life experience. How do you make sure that you're feeding your mind and you're learning the things that really enrich your life? How are you spending enough time with the relationships that are meaningful to you? How are you building and meeting new people, which opens up more and more opportunities for you? It's very easy sometimes to just want to stay home and be a hermit and not go anywhere. But everything that you have been thinking about is outside of your comfort zone. And with people, probably a bunch of strangers that you don't even know. And when you get the right people together working on a particular project, there is some sort of magic that happens that you cannot capture by yourself in your own home office.
You know, I hear writers talking all the time about setting aside blocks of time to sit there and write and forcing themselves to sit there and write and not getting anything accomplished. And then we have one brainstorming session where they take, Heidi, where you take all that notebook full of ideas and we just talk it through. And then it's all of a sudden, oh, you're writing again. You're writing. So that slow down to speed up instead of forcing yourself into that box of, I'm just going to sit here until something happens. Sometimes you need to get another perspective. There's that word again, another person's perspective, because you see it through the blinders of having lived it, where other people see the big picture. And you might be missing something in the peripheral that the other people in the room will capture for you. So that's the big concept of slow down to speed up, is take some time to join a community of people who could fill in the blanks for you. If I tried to do this on my own, we would be sitting in a Zoom room having one-on-one conversations. It was Heidi's brilliant idea to start the Restream and stream it live to everybody. And I learned so much from that my children's authors are now doing quarterly live streams.
Ooh.
Yes, we streamed live last weekend, 4 hours on Saturday, 4 hours on Sunday. So everybody, hey, catch the replay. Go to my go to my YouTube and catch the replay of that if you are interested in learning more about 18 wonderful children's authors. And the way I help my group of children's officers, the way I help my group of children's authors promote themselves and promote each other is exactly what we're going to do with the authors in this anthology.
And I'm going to mention too, you can't just sit down with anybody sometimes when you're talking about a bigger project that you're working on, because they just won't get it. There's a lot of people that aren't working on creative projects, have no interest in working on creative projects. They just don't get it. And so you could be married to this person. You could be related to this person. Right? It could be a friend that you spend a whole lot of time around. So it gets kind of discouraging after a while. And sometimes that's what will cause you to put things away. I'm not saying that it's their fault, because no, they love you. I truly believe that. But when you get together with other people that share the same interest in the same kind of project with you, oh my goodness, sparks start flying, and you will not believe the energy you feel to just get to work. I mean, sometimes just a weekly conversation. When I do my masterminds with my music groups, I can be feeling that morning as low, and I'm going to give up. And I just don't know who I'm going to talk to about it. But we get there into the mastermind, and I'm hearing what everybody else is working on. And I get a chance sometimes if I have a problem and I think they can help me. And I've got a group of friends to bounce ideas off of. And by the time those meetings are over, I mean, I'm top of the world again. I'm recharged and I'm ready to go. So my wish for you in 2026 is to find that group of people for you that energizes you, recharges your creative spirit, encourages you to slow down with the group. Find that story, discover what you're really interested in, the things that you really want to do. Not the stuff that the world and society has told you that's important and that you should do, but the stuff that's actually important to you. Find that group of people that's going to bring that out of you. And if you're really not sure where to start and find it, please come hang out with us. Maybe at our next second Tuesday of the month Q&A session, and ask your questions about the Believe Retreat anthology. How does it work? Which, speaking of which, Francine and I are working on a blog post. It's going to be coming out this week with all kinds of details and a timeline of what this project looks like, so you can plan your 2026 accordingly. And even though it's kind of a loose timeline, you know, things can kind of change around a little bit. It's enough for you to feel confident in joining us in this collaboration.
In addition to joining us in this collaboration, part of this collaboration is the idea incubators. That's the brainstorming sessions I've been talking about. I did one today and one person showed up, which is wonderful. We had a great conversation. But in my experience, feedback sessions work better with a few more people. So I want to know, when is a good time to hold these sessions? I want to hold them like Tuesday mornings at 10, or would Wednesday evenings be better for you? Or should I start to do some on the weekends? When are you available for these idea incubators? So I have an idea of when people are able to join me, because it is just so much more fun when more people are there. I love one-on-ones, but it's kind of like a fire. 2 pieces of wood like this, you light the fire and you get a little fire. You throw another log on the fire and it glows a little bit more. Throw a couple more logs on it and sparks fly. And that's what I like doing in these brainstorming sessions. And the more bodies we have in the room, the more sparks fly.
It's like hot potato, but for ideas.
I love it. Great analogy. Great analogy. Yeah.
So, I guess to wrap up this conversation today, as you're reflecting on what happened in 2025, your successes, what didn't go so well, what you would like to go better in 2026, realize all of the stories that you've been collecting in this last year. And that one of those lessons, many of those lessons, are going to be really valuable for someone else to hear. So if you think that you're ready to tell a story, get it published, and not have to worry about how the heck any of that stuff works, and do it with some cool other creatives, I hope you come check out the Believe Retreat. Oh, let me see. I feel like we have a screen with
Oops.
don't we have one with our website
But 2-book bundle's still on. And then as soon as you get that, I have a question for you.
Uh-huh.
Okay. We've been talking about joining the Believe anthology. And Heidi's writing her chapter for the Believe anthology. Am I correct in saying that that is going to turn into a full-blown book after the anthology comes out?
Am I going to write a full-blown book after the anthology comes out?
Uh-huh.
Well, I think that by the end of all of the stuff we're going to go through, I'm going to have enough notes that it would almost be silly to not have a full book after this whole thing is done. Because, I mean, really, my problem is how do I limit it, what I want to tell, down to that amount. But the super benefit to me for this is, number one, I'm not doing it alone. If I were to do it alone, I just would not continue to not do it some more. And that is me personally just being honest with why writing a book has not happened. But besides that, I don't want to learn how the publishing works. And I've heard other people tell stories about what a pain it is. And that is a huge reason why, another reason why I'm like, no, it's cool. We just put this on the shelf over here and I'll get to it one day. So, I mean, if you've told yourself the same thing, you're like, oh my goodness, I've said the same thing. This is the kind of project that's for you.
That's right. My chapter is going to turn into a full-blown book. And the beauty with having the anthology come out first as a taste of what my full book is going to be about, there's going to be a QR code in the anthology saying, if you like this story, here's the way to get the rest of the story. So you can write 12 or 15 words, learn the process, and take that overabundance of notes and ideas you're going to have and write the rest of the story. Or instead of just pieces of the story in 12 to 1500 words, you could write the whole, every feeling, every scene, every person who was there with you during the events in a 150-page book, and say, I wrote a whole book by myself and have all the authors of the Believe You Can book promote it for you.
And I'm very excited about the feedback, not only from the other collaborators, like as I'm writing the story, because I know that that's really going to help propel my progress. Because sometimes I get stuck just saying like, this is garbage. It's just going to go over here until I feel like figuring out what parts.
Didn't I tell you that some of that garbage were your gems?
Yeah, I would have just gotten rid of that stuff. Or, I mean, quite honestly, that piece of paper that it started it on probably would have gotten lost because this notebook's pretty much done. So, another week, this notebook would have been lost along with all of those notes, and we would have been starting from scratch all over again. So, already we have made some significant progress.
Well, my chapter's done. My chapter's done. My chapter is already edited. If you want to know what the editing process is like, check out last week's episode. My chapter was edited live streaming for everyone to see.
I'm also very interested to go through the editing sessions with Terry and being able to read everybody else's chapters and stuff as it's being done, because I have some weird questions about whether things should be capitalized or the period or the spaces.
That's Terry's job. That's Terry's job.
Sometimes it would be fun just to know. So I'm looking forward to those sessions as well. Maybe my actual writing will improve so it doesn't need so much editing in the future.
Let's talk about that. If you're thinking, I do have a story to tell and I would love to join this collaboration, but I'm not a writer. Well, guess what? We can help you with that too. We can interview you and get your words on paper and then fix it, make it more readable, send it to Terry. She'll give us ideas on what we could do to improve it. And then it's just a matter of going in there and asking you questions about your story and just massaging it to make it read better. So if you're afraid that you can't sit behind a computer and type it out, that's nothing to worry about. We have ways to help.
And I know it's like a longer ways down the road, but I am definitely excited to hang out with Ken some more.
Yes.
And find out his perspective of publishing and learn more about his experiences and get his insight on things that work and don't work. Because I definitely see where book publishing can also kind of be related to releasing music. And so they go very closely hand in hand, I think. So I'm very excited to learn more from Ken from Perfect Publishing through this process.
Yes, because I hear from authors all the time, my book's on Amazon and no one's buying it. Writing the book, getting it up on Amazon is only 20% of the process. It's what you put into the book that makes people want to read it. But then it's how do you tell people it's there for them to read? That's the big part of the equation that I am still learning it, but we have the expert not backstage today, but the behind the scenes. We have the expert ready to come in and help us when the time comes.
Well, my dog is over here leaking air. I don't know if you've heard her for like the last 10 minutes.
Well, I thought that was Stormy over there. I think it's time to close this out because you need to go take care of that.
I think so. She's just singing away in the background.
It's usually my dog saying they're hungry, but I fed them before we came on today.
Well, she'll cry and say she's hungry and then she won't eat it. She's the weirdest dog. I don't know. But anyway, Francine, I just want to thank you for a great year with this Believe Retreat live stream. And I am so excited for what the Believe Anthology Project is going to bring for 2026. Gosh, it's so weird to say that. I can't believe we're almost there.
I know 2026 is going to be our year. So
Yeah, baby.
join us and come along on the ride.
So we are kind of saying, oh, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and Happy New Year, because this is our last episode
Happy
of
Hanukkah. Happy
Happy Hanukkah, Happy everything. Somebody said that
everything.
to me today, and I'm like,
Happy Kwanzaa.
yeah. Happy everything.
Happy everything.
So, if you can conceive it, you can believe it, and you can We thought that Heidi learned how to do the ending by the end of 2025.
We just needed
Turns out, no.
We just needed a good giggle. It was a blooper reel.
Yes. Okay, take two. If you can conceive it, you can believe it, and you can achieve it.
From the head to the heart to the hands.
Yeah. You can. All right, you guys. See you guys in 2026.